Hey folks, and welcome to Croydon How It Is 2024. Each of the videos that I've done in this series since 2020 have had a slightly different feel. And for this one, I'm going to go along Park Lane, Wellesley Road, up towards Spurgeon's Bridge. I'm going to make my way back around Scarborough Road, Edridge Road, back to where I started. For the basis of this walk, I'm using a 1955 map. So it gives you a very good feel for how Croydon was approximately 70 years ago. Without further ado, let's get on our way. Now, Ruskin House appears on the map from 1955, but it wasn't actually occupied by the current owners or the trade union and labour movements until 1966. In fact, it was opened by Harold Wilson in 1967. Over the road there is Lindsay Court. That was known as the Wellesley Club, as in Wellesley Road. And the Wellesley Club was basically a squash club and bridge club around about 1959, 1960. And they were taken over by the Grandison College and School of Dancing. I can't particularly remember what the building was like before then. You've got some very grand buildings just that go up Coombe Road there, so perhaps it was in keeping with the style there, although it was its own self-contained building. Our family Saturday morning shopping trips into Croydon will feature once or twice in this video, but this was the route we came. We had lived in Hamsey Green area, came up here, so you just kind of remember through the repeated journeys. That's the way we shopped in those days, of course, but you just remember picking out certain sites, and I will highlight many of those to you as we go along, because I'm sure you'll have your own memories as well of Croydon back in the day. Some older buildings here that I seem to remember employing a solicitor base there to do some conveyancing on a property, but some of them have been replaced by newer buildings. Probably the biggest shift will be from what was originally residential to commercial, when Croydon was really cut through the middle, if you like, in the 1960s. Now we're going back to residential again. Patterns of work changing and the like. There's a reason for me crossing over, which will become clear to you quite soon. As I said many times, if you get out on foot, if you're able, and keep looking up, you will see lots of detail, lots of references to the past. To give you a sort of illustration of how the roads change, so this is Park Lane, and the first of a kind of series of connected roundabouts, just sort of here. But the road itself, the original road, went along there. It was pretty straight through the middle of what is Wellesley Road now, with the underpass and the like. And one of them that stands out from these trips from my younger day into Croydon is the Friends Meeting House, which it's been pretty much dwarfed by all around it now. Very distinctive building style, and there's the hall next to it. And really what many of us will remember, which is now a residential apartment block, is the site of Taberner House. It was opened in the mid-60s, closed in 2013 when the council moved to Bernard Wetherill House behind it. Took another couple of years to demolish it and then start the rebuilding on the apartment block there. And this is Beach House Road. So just on the corner here, there was municipal offices for housing and valuation. And then we start to see, as we go up towards the Fairfield area, a whole collection of municipal buildings. This is the Croydon Police Station. I remember that being built. As I understand it, the council building is this one here. And then we've got residential all the way up there. I believe they may have only opened in the last 3 years. But since I've been doing these annual videos and refreshes. So this is Friends Road, and the juvenile court was on the corner. Well, it was actually about where we are now, because we're coming up to Berkeley Road. On the other side of Berkeley Road, there was the Weights and Measures Department. And there was a licensing office over the road, but I mean it means little, but I am pointing it out on the map just so that you can see how things have changed. We've got the Fairfield Halls here, that was recently renovated. A pretty good open view there. Still very sad to see the Seagas house just on the side here, which I've called out in the last year or two. Got the weather today to show it off quite nicely. Pick out the town hall and the gardens. There were always gardens there, but the various offices spread all over. I mean, not too far away, but when Taberner House was built in that location, it made sense to put everything in one place, a one-stop shop. Now, the full history of the Fairfield is probably subject to a video all of its own, but in the 1955 map, it just says car park dotted all over it. It was a very large expanse of land because it was a fair field. The fair was held there for centuries. On the far side, so we've got the college building straight ahead there. On the far side of that used to be St Matthew's Church. And when digging through some photos, I found one of my mum during World War II when she was dressed in tin foil, basically. They were raising money, as were many, for salvage. And St Matthew's Church appears quite clearly in the background. Also in the picture there's my nan and my great-gran, so that was nice. Little bit of history there. And whilst not the highest quality of photographs, it has a lot of memories for me. Now I'm just going to show you the current state of play with Seagas House and the Nestle building. It is protected, but it needs investment. And Nestle House, there are some windows still at the top, but they seem to be gradually taken out. And I believe it is a dismantling operation that's going on there because there is going to be some investment in that area. This end of St George's Walk still has occupation, but the other end is flattened, it's gone. It's already been prepared for, I think it's St George's Square, but yeah, there's probably many of you will have memories of, as we refer to it, the Nestle building. And that is how it is in November 2024. I also saw on the map there was a fire station over in the corner. That would have been well before St George's House was built. And then we have the college building, or buildings. This is Suffolk House. And this is on George Street. And the other side is Norfolk House. It used to be the site of the Croydon public halls there. Once upon a time they had theatre productions and it was a kind of multi-purpose set of halls, but that's gone, long gone. Part of this 60s development boom, which basically cut that out, just sort of scythed through the middle of Croydon. Popeye's Chicken, electric house there, original name. And the old Seaboard house just along there. Norfolk House and Travelodge. So I know there's some overlap with videos that I've done before, but I think these are a different perspective. London South Bank University building. I remember the building there being HSBC, or maybe even Midland before that. A lot of offices to let. And over the road was Whitgift Middle School until 1965, when that was demolished to make way for the Whitgift Centre, which is behind there. The school moved to Shirley, known as Trinity. So yeah, the Wellesley Road entrance to the Whitgift Centre, we like the funnel on top. And the next block we're coming up to was the home of Croydon High School for Girls, as you can see on the map. So that was the original site from the late 1800s, and it moved to its current site in Selsdon in the mid-1960s. Now, corner of Sydenham Road here, and opposite, well, that was the location of the Wellesley House Women's Hostel. There is a brilliant website that I found that has got references to not only that particular building, but really a history of all the buildings along Wellesley Road. So have a look in the link below and you'll be able to understand a bit more about it. So many of these plots, there is absolutely no reference to what was there before. And it's only by actually doing a bit of map work that you can see. So there was a building called The Cottage on the corner here. And then a bit further up was Pembroke Hall. Now I found some references to it being used as a repertory theatre. Often many of the theatres in this part of the world just didn't last very long, and maybe that was the advent of television and the like. So this was Delta Point originally, which I think I'm correct in saying was a BT building, and I think I'm right in saying it's now residential. You see the pattern here. It wasn't just the schools that were located along here, there were various factories. There was a metal crate factory, there was a sheet metal works opposite the Pembroke Hall, so somewhere in the Delta Point area. And now we have Tesco Express with a sign behind some pillars. But also, and thankfully, some buildings remain. Churches often survive. St Mary's Roman Catholic Church. Often the buildings aren't marked because they were anything special, but it stood the test of time. This is the Moorfields building for Croydon. And this place is very nice as well, 76A. Very attractive building there. You can easily go past it. And then, yeah, Bedford Hall there, which is available for hire. And looking back where we've just come from. Very substantial properties, very well built, no doubt. We're reaching Spurgeon's Bridge, where I'm going to turn around and come back, but I'm sure if you've not visited Croydon from this perspective for a while, you would have noticed a very large number of changes. This is the one-way system, so I'm going this way round to get to the site that I wanted to point out. This was actually boarded up for a while, and then funding must have been found from somewhere to finish the development. I think it was boarded up as recently as the COVID time. Now, those of you who know your Croydon history will remember a certain factory here, straight ahead of me. On the map from 55 it says Flour Mills, but it was also known generally as the Wonderloaf factory, or British Bakeries. Now, I'm sure I remember getting the 403 bus with my mates to West Croydon, and then taking a footpath alongside the railway line. But we always took in the view of the Wonderloaf factory, and I'm pretty certain you could see the loaves going past through a window on the conveyor belt. Now all residential. I saw a photo online, and I'll do a link because there's a few local photos that are very good, to the guy's Flickr site. Well done, mate. So yeah, the Wonderloaf factory, and I'm pretty certain there was a viewing window to see loaves of bread go by. I don't think I'm going mad. Let me know. Not if I'm going mad, but if there was a viewing window. So West Croydon Baptist Church was there in 55, and it's there in 2024. Let's go on the traffic island and show a bit more of that building. Again, one of those landmarks. You may not necessarily visit it, but you know where it is, atop Spurgeon's Bridge. So the railway line goes under here, and there's a footpath. I walked straight past it. Straight ahead there. That would have been the footpath me and my mates took from West Croydon to Selhurst Park when we were in the old 3rd Division, no doubt. But we were loyal supporters all the same. And I still am. So we've got that 76A building, Bedford Hall, Moorfields, and St Mary's Church, and next to it, development 2000s style. So heading down into the bus terminus area, West Croydon station. Got the trams, the superloops, and all manner of transports in this particular hub, and West Croydon station next door. St Michael's Church. That might almost be a silhouette with today's low lights. Station building, and once a canal. It's another story entirely, but that was the basis of the canal, and then they took that out of use and West Croydon station was built there. When I did the first of these in 2020, which I'll admit was sort of hastily put together, it looked pretty sad along here, and certainly this didn't exist. Because we've now got a whole plot here, London Square. One of the things they should deserve a huge amount of credit for is the work they did in this particular piece. Protected it, looked after it, strengthened it. Still doesn't appear to be open per se. If you look at some of the clips I took in 2020, you'll see that they've done a very fine job. So we are now going down Tamworth Road, which is straight ahead. The aim of these videos is really a bit of nostalgia, a bit of history. There are other people on YouTube who perhaps take a different angle on what's going on in Croydon, and that's not for me. So just to point out, I do moderate the comments, and if they are not in keeping with what I want to see on the channel, they won't get published. So I just want it all to be respectful. As I say, just think about the history and some of the great buildings that have been and gone, and we'll have a conversation about those. I did have to turn the comments off on a video in the past, and I'd rather not do that. I just want people to kind of be respectful. So housekeeping over. So we just come down Tamworth Road. We've got some fairly new housing here on the right, and we've got the Central tram stop. But just on the right here was the Barlow and Parker Confectionery Company, at 27 to 29, and that house is number 27. And that was where Derek Bentley was involved in a crime and sadly was executed for it. And many years later, through a lot of fighting and from his sister, a pardon was received. But it's shocking, but the actual factory premises was here where that terrible crime took place and a policeman was killed. And say absolutely nothing to see there now, but you can see a reference to it on the map. I'm just going to nip down here at the site of what was John Ruskin's school. That moved to Shirley, actually on the year the map was produced, so 1955, but very nice site. Now the home of Praise House, Tamworth Halls. Lovely building, hopefully it'll be looked after. So I'm going down Frith Road now. So broadly in this general area would have been Kennards, the back of Kennards, and again, family memories of those days. So that was the car park entrance. Not quite sure what it is now. And the swap shop was where Keeley House is. Pretty certain it wasn't that actual building. It was much older than that. And the memory really was that there was generally a queue to get into the car park. So we would come up where that car's heading now and then go along here and then in there. And the swap shop was a sort of wraparound, from what I recall, around both corners here. So as a kid, you think, oh, there's a lot of stuff going on in there. Pretty certain I bought one or two things there in later life, but it went, as many do. And I'm pretty certain many of you watching this video will have fond memories of the swap shop that used to be right there. I'm going to cut through Surrey Street before going on the final leg really. I seem to remember a wholesale butcher along here somewhere. Is it Tucker's? Or was it this side? Anyway, no longer here. So whilst I've given the Whitgift Centre and North End a miss this year, we will take a walk along Surrey Street. Not quite as bustling as I recall. And also much quieter. That's always the thing about how much your potatoes or strawberries or bananas were. Maybe the art of that has gone, certainly in these parts. Pretty certain there used to be stalls all the way up, the full length, but Bit of a gap here.
Okay.
I have to say, there's some very nice smells coming from the food places. Can't quite put those across. You'll have to imagine those. Millets aren't there, but the sign on the wall is. So, yeah, that was Surrey Street, November 2024. Now that's Surrey House. That was the location of the Palladium Cinema some 70 years ago. I'm going to take a walk down here to highlight something that I know will be strong in the memory and has presence on the map, but nothing to see here, so to speak. So around about here was the site of the Croydon Central Baths. 1866, the first bath was built here, demolished in the 1970s. This spot, the site of Davis Theatre over there, features in last year's video, if you want to look that one up. So heading up Mint Walk, not to be confused with the Mint Walk in Wallingham. So one set of consolidation of council buildings took place about 10 years after the map. Put them all into Taverner House, and then that was exited and now based over here in the Bernard Weatherall House complex. Some autumn colours still there. Queen's Gardens, formerly Croydon's Central Railway Station. And another perspective on buildings that were built where Taverner House was. So none of those central functions moved far. They didn't then, they haven't now. Behind the trees there, we've got the some of the town hall buildings, and then poking through there, Bernard Weatherall House in the middle. Friends Meeting House as we walk up from Mint Walk and now towards Edridge Road, which is the last part of the video. But also an opportunity to show you some of the other modern angles. So Bernard Weatherall House there, that one. What was Taverner House kind of there. And in the background you've got old and new Fairfield Halls down the bottom. I think I'm pointing this out right, it's a very small screen. And the Commercial Union Building, Police Station, Friends Meeting House. So you've had lots of options today to see all the angles and get an update on Croydon 2024. Another part of the, I think I used the term scythe earlier, this was taken through Old Town. Beautiful part of Croydon. But yeah, straight through the middle, hot knife through butter. So rip it to shreds. I'm not bitter. So we have the rear of the properties there that we looked at on the first section of the video, and not far behind it, we see this row of houses in Edridge Road. Another one that we picked out last year, but looks pretty fine against that sky today. Also, I noticed on the map between this row of houses and the houses on the other side, Park Lane, there was a reference to some fines. We've got old residential there, modern residential there, and A-Deck Marine, 4 Masons Avenue, next to this very modern block. Must have some history to it, it's Victorian style, but personally pleased that it stood the test of time. Yeah, very nice. Nice to see, and a rarity. So back to Ruskin House. I didn't mention, I remember going to a party here as well. This is a bit of a theme on my videos, in the building out back. It's very pleasing on the eye. Once a domestic home for somebody, and then taken over formally in 1966, opened by Harold Wilson, 1967. So thank you for accompanying me for Croydon How It Is 2024. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please hit the like. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please hit subscribe, and also consider joining as a member to help support me. That'd be absolutely wonderful. In the meantime, look after yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.